This is what we mean when we say you must operationalize, then you must professionalize, then you must optimize. All right? And those are 3 stages of each of these stages. Like, you don't get to just operationalize, set up all your systems, capture all your systems.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, chiropractic's #1 business podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
Hey, as always, we are stoked to be in the studio with you guys. Wow, it's 2025. When you're listening to this, we are just on the cusp of it right now, finishing out this year strong, recording, but it is 2025 now that you're listening to this. And man, I am bullish on the year, Dr. Pete. I'm so excited about the year to come. You could probably play back the last 10 years and you'd hear me say the same thing, and I'm okay with that. Right? So I love going into battle expecting to win, and absolutely the situation for 2025. We got a big year and big 4 years ahead, probably a big 12 years ahead. I'm so excited, and what a privilege to be part of this movement, this Make America Healthy Again movement. So I'm stoked. I know that we've got a huge harvest in front of us, and the harvesters are few, as you said just a minute ago, right? So, but we're speaking to them, and I know that's true. We got a bunch of servant-hearted, mission-driven, on-purpose chiropractors in their teams out there, and man, what a privilege to be able to address you guys every single week. I hope that what we're delivering inspires you and equips you to do your best work and have the best year yet. So it's 2025. We cast a vision for the remarkable practice and for our ecosystem with the theme of the year, as we do every year. Dr. Pete, love this year's theme, and the theme of new wineskins. It's the perfect framing for what is about to happen. The future is bright. I'm excited. I love this concept of new wineskins, and I think we should have a conversation today. Like, let's make that a bit more practical. Like, what do we mean by that? As we move in to January 2025, going 100 miles an hour.
What I think people love about the remarkable practice, and even probably listening to this podcast, is the frameworks that we're able to create and to take a theme or a concept like wineskins and make it actually very practical. So, that theme could come off one way and it'd be like, well, what the heck does that mean? And so we're going to answer those questions this year, and we're going to do that today. I'm really excited about this theme, Doc, because I've already been able to begin sharing it. I let the cat out of the bag a little bit early because when we're on a theme and it's brewing, it's like you want everybody to know what's in the pot, like what's brewing there. So everybody wants to dip in and get a little taste test. So we've been doing that here, and it's just been awesome for me to be able to share this perspective with many of you who are listening now, maybe some of you who aren't, but just the understanding of the wine skins and what does that mean practically for you in this next year. And there's 2 C words really that come to my mind, Dr. Stephen, as we begin this. We're going to unpack it, but there's 2 C words that I think about. One is capacity. That's one of the words, right? Is the capacity. And when I think about capacity, I think about what's possibility, right? It's the possibility versus probability question. And we look at capacity. It says, what is our capacity? What is your capacity for the increase? What is your capacity for the growth? That's the first C word. The other C word is the word character. This has to do with the who you are being and who you are becoming. And this is the leadership arm of the concept that I want to just present today, saying, hey, when we look at this through the lens of, okay, new wineskins. I love this idea, Dr. Pete, Dr. Stephen. I love what you guys are saying. It really is I'm starting to see it. I wasn't seeing it, but now I'm starting to see it. I want you to think about those 2 C words. I want you to think about the word capacity, and I want you to think about the word character, because character and capacity go hand in hand. As your character increases, your capacity increases. But oftentimes it's when we're in the transitions of growing pains that, what's that? That's a phrase that's been probably used for thousands of years. Growing pains. There's a pain in growth. There's a character formation. There's an opportunity stage of character formation to increase capacity. On the journey to capacity increase, there's character formation. And in that, you can either opt out or opt in. You get to decide. And so what we're talking about right now is for you to be prepared in 2025 for the increase, for the growth that you might have set with your base case and best case goals, that for you to be able to be prepared to receive that, to be able to handle that without bursting the container, without breaking the thing, that you've got to look at it through a specific lens, which Dr. Stephen, we're going to break it down today. We love rules, and you're going to be sharing some rules. We're going to unpack this today, but I just wanted to present that just at the beginning of this conversation, just to think about capacity and character, and these two go hand in hand. They journey together, and it's right in the center of the discussion that we want to have today. So I just ask you to think about that for yourself. Like, who am I now? And then who do I need to become in order to be the person that can receive that and can steward or handle that, so that you don't burst the process, Dr. Stephen. Right. So I just want to set the frame a little bit there, as we unpack this, even further today.
So in the book of Matthew 9, 16, 17, Matthew says, no one puts new wine into old wineskins, for the old skins would burst from the pressure, spilling the wine and ruining the skins. New wine is stored in new wineskins so that both are preserved. Jesus uses parables. He's probably the greatest teacher. All right, let's call it. He's the greatest teacher of all time, and he taught in parables so that people would understand it. So I think it's a perfect frame for, this conversation, because what we're talking about with capacity and character, what it's saying is like you're embracing a new way, right? So when you just can't, it can't be status quo. You can't go into the next year. If you expect don't expect things to change if you don't change, right? So it's just like, what we're encouraging people to recognize is there's opportunity here. And if you are a growth-oriented, mission-driven chiropractor, just recognize that you cannot put new wine in old wineskins. It will not tolerate the expansion that will be associated with you making an ascension as a leader with your character, or your practice growing. It will just end up breaking, the elements of your business. And this is the concept that we want you guys to recognize, is it's time for new wineskins. Right. So, Dr. Pete, there's a construct that we've taught called the rule of ones and threes, which talks about there's a predictability to this. Right. So, and as visionaries, as leaders, we're the ones that are looking to the future. Okay. So we're looking to the future so that we can plan and prepare to execute. Right. So I'm talking to you CEOs right now. You're the visionary. You are the only one that is taking a 3-year view of your business, for example. Right. So you're the only one that is looking off into the future. And you have to understand this law of ones and threes. Right. So the business that you have at 100,000, the team that you have at 100,000, will not be the same team that takes you to 300,000, will not be the same business that gets you to 300,000. The business that you have at 300,000 and the team you have at 300,000, that will not be the business or the team that will take you to 1 million. The business you have, the team you have at 1 million will not take you from 1 million to 3 million, from 3 million to 10 million, from 10 million to 30 million, from 30 million to 100 million and beyond. Dr. Pete, we talk about each one of these ascensions of your business. What we're talking about very specifically when we talk about the practice, the business, the team that you have right now, this is what we mean when we say you must operationalize, then you must professionalize, then you must optimize. Right? And those are 3 stages of each of these stages. Like, you don't get to just operationalize, set up all your systems, capture all your systems so that they're accessible and like that. That is table stakes to get your systems in place. Then professionalize, bringing in people that are better at doing that job than you would be, right? Professionalizing the business, bringing in people to run that part of the business, building out your world-class team of A players. And then you get to spend your time optimizing. Well, you're optimizing from 1 million to 3 million, but you're going to need to upregulate. You're going to need to up-level your operations and your team to get to that next level. So each one of these steps is going to call for you as the leader to revisit this concept of now you must operationalize for the next level. Now you must professionalize for the next level. And then you get back to the work of optimization.
So I want to get a little bit practical. So I always love the construct of the accountability grid to really organize our conversation specifically. So I'll give you an example, Dr. Stephen, and maybe you and I can, just wrestle with this a bit. Because if I think about what you're saying, rules of ones and threes and everything you said, I'm resonating. I think everybody heard you. Let's say you're right now you guys are at 300,000 and your goal is to get to 1 million, let's say, and so what Dr. Stephen, you're saying is that, the operation and the team that got you to that level, there's going to need to be a change in that, right? There's going to be an adjustment. There's going to need to be an up leveling to be able to go from a $300,000 business to a 1 million. And then the same thing would happen at the $1 million business. So let's say some of you are listening and you're like, that's us. Actually, we just hit the 7-figure mark and we're like, yeah, and we're celebrating with you. And it's an amazing thing to grow from 1 to 3 million. What Dr. Stephen, you're saying is that you're going to have to completely relook at this. Like relook at those skins, because the skins at 1 million and the skins at 3 million are not the same. You'll pour it in there, they'll burst it. It's too much pressure. It can't, in the fermentation process, it won't be able to handle it.
That new wine at 3 million will burst the wineskins at 1 million, the old wineskins.
And so a lot of us, we deal with the comfort challenge, which is, well, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm feeling like this has stretched me, but I'm at this point. And that's the timing piece and discernment. There's got to be wisdom. And a lot of factors go into this. This is where having a coach and people in your corner who can listen and understand and know what your life is like and where your core values are and where your stage of life is. I mean, there's so many factors that go into this. So I don't want to say any of this flippantly, but let's use as an example, just your attraction. For example, so if we said, all right, so for us to grow from, 300,000 to 1 million, if your practice, for us to be able to do that, what we've been doing as far as attracting new patients isn't not going to cut it, because at that level of new patient volume of people coming in, and if we kept everything the same, our conversion rates, retention rates, all of that, we're not going to be able to grow. We're just going to keep replacing people over time. We will grow maybe incrementally. We'll never actually make it to the $1 million mark. So something's going to have to give. We're going to have to pour some gasoline on the fire of the attraction to increase that to an exponential level more, whatever that is, whether it's a multiplier of we need a 1x or 2x that, or whatever it might be. You're going to have to go back. And if I was in your, if I analyzed your business for you, I would say, okay, well, let's look at it through the lens of internal, external, and digital marketing. Okay, you've been averaging, 5 internal new patients a month. You've been averaging 5 external new patients a month, and you've been averaging, 5 digital new patients a month. You've been averaging 15 new patients a month, and that's what's got you to this point. But for us to get you to the point where you want to get to $1 million practice, we're going to need to increase that, because we simply just reverse engineered it from the end in mind, which is the $1 million mark. We reverse engineered it back. And we realized we need, actually, instead of 15 new patients a month, we need 45 new patients a month to be able to hit that number. So how are we going to be able to do that? Well, let's look at it through the lens of your internal marketing first. And then what we would do is we get out our chisel and our saw and our axe and all the tools, and we would just start unscrewing screws and say our internal process. Oh, our internal process, we're doing one of the 53 things we could be doing. We're only doing one of them. So in this next season, for us to go from 5 to 15 internal new patients predictably, consistently every single month, we're unscrewing the process-driven new patients. And we realize, whoa, we are not capitalizing on these. There's 52, but we are only doing one of them. We got to add 4 or 5 more in this next chapter on just the process component of internal new patients. If we can start to put systems and process, we can put an SOP, we can train, and we can operationalize and systematize and organize and then train on it and then execute and then revisit it and assess it and then adjust and make it even better. And we're going to do that over the next 12 months. We're going to focus heavily on just that one thing. We will actually be able to go from 5 to 15. And we're starting to move in the right direction just by handling one of the functions, one of the components of one of the functions of attraction. Does that make sense? So this is where this becomes, so what you did before in your new patient internal, you're like, oh no, it's working. It's working well. It's not working well for $1 million practice. It's working well for a $300,000 practice. So at $1 million practice, that will not fly. That will not cut it. You won't get there. You just will never get there. You will work hard. You'll hope, you'll pray, you'll just never get there. And here's why: because you're not actually optimized. You got to go back and operationalize that. Then you got to go back to the team and say, well, right now I'm doing it all. Oh, I'm going to recruit one of my team members who this is their zone of genius. They're a great promoter. They're an amazing promoter. And they can follow up and follow through with the process to make sure to ensure that this is going to happen. And by the way, I'm going to give them some accountability, so let them report on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, how that's going. And you guys feel it. I'll stop here, Doc Steven, but you feel it. Like, practically speaking, you understand that that's how you would approach just taking a 300 to 1 and taking a 5 to a 15 in the just internal functionality of your business. And we would do that across the board of your business.
So I know working with so many chiropractors that sometimes the economics conversation doesn't make as much sense to them as the volume conversation does, right? So we just talked about going from 100,000 to 300,000, 300,000 to a million to 3 million, 3 million, 10 million. That's in top line revenue, right? So if that didn't resonate with you, how about if we shifted that to volume? Like, so let's just call it like patient visits a week, right? So the practice that you have now at 100 visits a week won't be the practice or the team that will get you to 300 visits a week. The team at 300 visits a week, the practice you have at 300 visits a week won't get you to 1,000 visits a week. The practice at 1,000 visits a week can't get you to 3,000. Who hears me, right? So it's like, you're like, literally think about that and be like, oh, when you put it that way, I can totally see that. Yeah. So like when our systems, our operations would have to be different at 300 a week versus 1,000 a week. And now some of you might be writing this off being like, friggin' 1,000 a week. No, don't lose what I'm saying here. Like, you have to understand, like, when you do extremes, it turns the lights on bright, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh yeah, okay. So to go from 300 a week to 1,000 a week, what would have to change with our operations? Well, it's just like, well, we'd have to go from individual reports to group reports. We'd have to go from breaking people out for progress reports for 15-minute progress reports every 12 visits to just doing tableside 2-minute ticks and bringing people up to speed on their progress report. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, you start looking at your operations and be able to say, we're going to have to get some hot seats and some feeder rooms. We're going to have to train the patients to be face down on the table, or to train the patients better. Like, those are operations, guys. That's what we're talking about, right? Or how about professionalize? Well, 300 a week, you could probably do it yourself, but it's probably time to bring on an associate, right? By 1,000 a week, you're definitely in there with 2 associates, right? So it's like, you can see you're professionalizing it, right? So it's probably time for an office manager if you're not already too late to go from 300 to 1,000. To tell you what, it takes a lot more new patients to drive that kind of volume to feed 3 doctors instead of 1. So you better professionalize that marketing and lead generation. Guess what? You might have to bring in somebody who is naturally a closer, a salesperson, to be your accounts manager, who helps close the cycle with your associate doctors as they're doing report of findings, recommendations, financials. You might bring in a new patient concierge or 2 to keep the doctors over the tables in the adjustatorium. You professionalizing that Texier new patient concierge process. Dr. Pete, this conversation is like, how do you make growth actionable? If you're an entrepreneur, you want to take action. And what we're describing for you guys is our constructs to guide you along the way. It's like, you should not be making this stuff up. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. You should not be spending any time trying to create everything we're describing. It is already created. There are many ways to skin this cat, right? So, but we have built and time tested and now scaled across thousands of practices, a proven system. Okay. So for everything we've just described, it's the Remarkable Practice System, right? So if this is knocking on your door today, right? So if you're like, yeah, man, this is the year, everything you just described right there, you've been reading my mail. Oh my gosh. We would love to help you guys do this. This is what we are passionate about. This is how we serve humanity. This is how we restore, Dr. Pete, this is how we restore health, right? We help humanity through you guys, right? So if you'd like to be able to help more of humanity, click the link, schedule a strategy session, jump on a call with one of our awesome coaches. Let's help you put this in place now. It's January 2025. Is 2025 going to be your year? Is this finally going to be the year for you to operationalize your business, to professionalize your business so you can put all your energy into optimizing your business to make it the biggest, most profitable, most fulfilling year yet. What chiropractic needs right now is more successful chiropractors. Are you the next one?
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.